for this assignment, you will be tooling copper. And let's just look at a few pieces that were done by students in the past. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a flat piece of copper. We're going to use tools to raise the copper. It's called repousse. When we tool the copper from the back, pushing shapes up, it's called repousse. When we tool the copper from the front and push down, it's called counter repousse. Now, you will be doing a practice piece of copper with me, but first you're going to start thinking about your designs. So designs for copper are not as complex as our designs that we did in our first project for Scratchboard. These designs must be simpler because when we tool a line in copper, it becomes thicker than a pencil line. Unlike when we were tooling with the Scratchboards where we could make really fine and detailed designs, here we're thinking about raising areas and shapes. We're still going to be doing texturing and patterns on them. And you'll be doing one of two designs. Your design can either be bilateral, which means you'll draw one side and then trace the mirror image, or it may be quadrilateral. A quadrilateral design starts with one quadrant, and then you take that quadrant and you trace it into the next. And then you have it in the half, you fold it in half and you trace it so that each quadrant is actually identical. So bilateral symmetry, we have mirror images. Quadrilateral symmetry, we have each quadrant being the same. So really the content is up to you. But think about things that can be split in half. One way to potentially search would be tribal tattoo designs, and then whatever content you're interested in, because those designs typically are already simplified into shapes. So sometimes we find good designs that way. Something like this, too busy, too many small things. So think about large or more simplistic shapes, no large empty areas. So I'm going to show you what that would look like. So if I was going to do a bilateral design, I would get a piece of paper, it's 6 by 6. I would fold it in half, and I would get some type of inspiration to look at before I start drawing this. And I have a mask book, and actually I'm using a mask image online, and I'm going to be drawing it step by step from the center out. So here would be, my eyebrow. And you're going to do your own content. I'm just going to show you what this would look like. So a bilateral design is drawn from the center out. This actually is a totem mask image that I found online. Okay, and now I've broken up most of the space. I'm going to bring in my light box and turn it on. I'll flip my image upside down, and I'm going to trace my image into the other half. So I will have a mirror image here. When I open this up, I should have something that looks like a mirror image on both sides. Now, I'm going to connect this I do have a couple of areas, so any little areas, excuse me, I'm going to make sure match up where they meet, so if I couldn't see it well. And if I have any large open areas, which I do, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to add some detail to break up those large shapes. But I'm going to make sure that I leave extra space anything that I'm adding, I'm going to trace to be my mirror. So each time I'm making an adjustment, I want to make sure that I'm transferring that design through. Let's take a look if that's any better. Okay, so now we've got more details. I'd probably add something here, but this would be then ready to work my image further and ready for metal, okay? To do a bilateral design, I would fold my design in 4. And I'm going to do something like a sun or a flower, something that would radiate from the center out. And if I want it to be a circle, I'm going to use a compass in my room. Compasses are in drawer 4. You're going to put pencil into the compass, make sure they're approximately level, and then tighten, so righty-tighty. And then I'm going to use the pencil point of the compass, this pointed side, actually the stylus side, here in the middle, and I'm going to give myself some rings to work with here so that I know that when it's done, it will line up and make a circle once I trace it in all 4 quadrants. So I'm going to start with that. I'm also going to take a straight edge and I'm going to divide this in half, and I'm going to try and mirror what's on one side I'm going to put on the other. So I'm going to start in the middle, and in this section I'm going to do 2 small petals on each side. In this section, this larger section, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do 1 large petal in each section, and it's going to go edge to edge. And then I'm going to do a detail inside here, and I'm going to do a detail in the background. In the background, I'm going to do some circles, and I'm going to pick a size. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to put a whole circle here. I'm going to put a half circle here. And I'm going to put a half circle here. And I'm going to start with that for my design, tracing just those things. So now I'm going to open this up. I'm going to turn on my light box, and I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to start tracing my design through. So I'm going to put first the small petals. I'm going to actually trace this circle as well. It's going to become part of my design. I'm going to trace the large petal. My full circle, my half. So that's the beginning. I now have it in the half. I'm actually going to use probably this outer circle as well, but it wasn't dark enough for me to see, so I'm going to trace over it right now. I'm going to trace that onto here. Now, I have my design in half of my image, so I'm going to come onto here. I'm going to fold this in half this way, and then I'm going to trace that into this other half. And then once I have all 4 quadrants traced, I'm going to take a look and see what it looks like. And if I need to add anything at that point, I will. And if it looks good, I'll leave it just as it is. I can already see something I forgot to trace. But we can go back when we're done and clean that up. It's this one right here. Okay, and then I'm going to trace these. All right, so let's open this up and see what we got. Make sure that we match things up. If we're a little bit off, we'll just match them up. Now, the one thing I don't like about this design is how empty this is in here. So I would probably go back through and put something else in this space. Maybe I would do another petal. Maybe I would come in here and put a small insect. So I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm actually going to draw like a butterfly, just a small butterfly on the inside, and then I'm going to trace that. So even though most of my design is quadrilateral, if you have something you want to add that is not, I'm fine with that. That would definitely break up my space, and I'm going to come through and add lines there, and that would be it. So this would be a quadrilateral design. It has 4 quadrants. Oh, I can see I missed something right there. There we go. So here's my quadrilateral design. Oh, I'm missing something there too. And here's my bilateral design. You get to choose what content, but remember, one will be bilateral, one will be quadrilateral. When you're done, you can submit your drawing for 10 process points.